Welcome to Tagged Beyond the Award, the podcast that celebrates innovation, excellence, and leadership. Each episode dives into inspiring stories behind the nominees and winners of the TAG Awards, uncovering the breakthroughs, challenges, and triumphs that define their journey. Whether it's cutting-edge technology, transformative products, or visionary leadership, we're here to explore what it means to stand out and shape the future of your industry. Let's go beyond the award and into the heart of innovation. Here's your host, Justin Starbird.
Welcome back to Tagged Beyond the Award. My name is Justin Starbird, and today I get to welcome good friend. I don't know how else to describe you, but man, we've been at this for a little while. Entrepreneur, MedTech consultant, co-founder, and managing member of Symphony, Tor Alden. Tor, great to see you, man.
Hey, thanks so much, Justin. Great to be here today.
Yeah, it's exciting. You and I used to do this often in your old gig. Have a show together, talk pretty frequently about what was happening in MedTech and in the industrial design space. So this is like old hat for us.
Yeah, no, it's I kind of miss it. So this is fun. I was thinking back when we started to do this, and when I was with HSD, we talked about the product development, and I think innovation and awards came up quite a bit during those podcasts, and I'm just glad to see that it's being revived. So great.
Well, I'm excited to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's my pleasure to welcome you as a judge of the inaugural TAG Awards for MedTech for 2025. So really excited to get your expertise, share your experience here today, and learn a little bit more about what you've been up to.
Sure. So right now I'm doing a lot of advisory roles and been on a few boards as advisory, as well as starting up a few companies, trying to Symphony, which is one you brought up earlier. We're still in early stages of developing that pediatric delivery system. So keeping busy.
No doubt. You and I have talked a lot about the trends and what happens in medtech over the years. It's something that you've always kept a really close pulse on. Thinking back, a long view of your career here, and I don't want to tell people for how long, but you've always been at the forefront of design and innovation. What are some of the milestones that you've seen in your career that you really like to look back on and reminisce about?
It's funny, and I have no shame in saying it's 35 plus years in the industry. I'm probably not that much in the med tech. I started out early on in telecom, and so kind of emerged into med tech basically for that same reason that a lot of people move into it, and that's the value of what you're contributing and having. Med tech is such a special space in that you can actually see a product that you're working on actually making an impact on individuals or patient care. So that's always a key motivator for myself. And I mean, as far as changes go throughout the industry, I mean, it's crazy how things are just moving so quickly and rapidly. On this podcast, I was thinking back of, back in the days of the first MedTech and even the first MDEA awards that we were looking at, way back when. And everything was beige. Everything was kind of in a battle-hardened case that would last 15 to 20 years because the technology wasn't there to really innovate or move it. And so you'd be looking at consumer trends to see what's going to happen in the MedTech space. And now I almost see the inverse, where it's really medtech, and obviously it's the addition of AI and all the connected devices that are a combination with consumer and consumer healthcare, but it's rapidly moving it to the point where nobody can actually think about designing a product for longevity anymore. It's really about how to make it for the right price, timing, and the needs of the user at the given point. So that's a really exciting and refreshing part to see is the agility of everything moving so fast.
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, a little bit, more limited than yours, maybe in terms of duration, but nonetheless, on the front lines, what do you see in terms of, you mentioned that line is blurred between consumer and med tech, because the timeline has shortened. What do you think about the expectations too for the user? You have surgeons that are basically demanding the same sort of devices that they have at home too, as they have in the operating room, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think the this is a conversation that I think is actually where it's really going to hit the head is this next decade, because I think last decade everybody was talking about that remote monitoring wearables and the surgeons tools need to be similar, to what they're experiencing in the external world. It wasn't really feasible. I mean, you'd have your watches and you'd have these different monitoring solutions, but they weren't tied in as connected and proactive as they will be in the near future. And I think that's really the value add of this next few years, I think, with MedTech is going to be that you're going to see a focus on the patient-centric design, the ability for friendly, intuitive solutions that become invisible to both patient and doctors or clinicians, and the ability to actually afford giving care to remote, people that don't have to come in for a visit for necessarily. They can come in remotely from their home, and so home health care, all this I think will be coming on an increase, and we could go in deep rabbit hole about what AI is going to be bringing into the life sciences in the next few years as far as personal vaccines and personalized medicine, and all of this is going to become more prevalent. And again, with all that, then you kind of combine it with today's market of M&A and everybody consolidating and then spinning off. There's so many opportunities for innovation to really blossom and grow, where in the past you'd have to kind of, I think some of the innovations never really left their incubation, and I think now it's a lot fertile, for lack of a better word, it's a much more fertile ground for innovation.
Yeah. I mean, when you sit here and we talk about this, is that just wild to you to talk to your younger or see your younger self and say, man, where was this when I was coming up?
Well, it would scare me quite a bit if I thought I was starting a career now with this what's going on now, because to your point, I mean, there's so many different angles you could take and so many different directions you might go off in. I've been fortunate enough to be centered in design and having enough engineering sense to understand that how they both work together. And I think as it moves forward, design is going to become that one key commonality for all of these technologies that are going to have to really work together to just make sure that everything is focused on being patient centric,
Yeah.
usable.
I think I'm totally in agreement with you there that design becomes, the no longer an afterthought. It's where it starts. And then, it's neat to know that that's where your background is and was and continues to be. You continue to have a pulse on design. What are you seeing today that excites you about, the opportunities that are coming with design? Like, are you seeing more, human factors considered earlier? Are you seeing engineering considered earlier? What are those considerations?
It's interesting. I mean, so about 5 years ago, or even, yeah, I would say 5 years ago, I would have jumped on the human factors and say this is the most paramount thing that's going to happen, right? But over the last 5 years, it's with the help of the FDA and with the help of all the professional firms that are out there, human factors is it's almost a you take it for granted that it's going to be packed in, and as you step back further and you can say how design and human factors work together, that they're both acting as that affordance for usability. If it's designed correctly with the right human factors or ergonomics, it's intuitive, and so therefore, it works invisibly. And I think it took a while for industry to really understand how important human factors was.
Mhm.
And I think design actually got a lot of help from human factors to bring it to the forefront. But now, as everybody's getting more sophisticated in understanding it, they realize that the designing it well will aid in the human factors, which will aid in compliance, which will aid in time to market, which will aid to customer satisfaction, which, it's a 1 + 1 = 3 solution. So
Yeah. Thinking about, the products and the devices that come to market now, you and I have worked together for, of course, a number of years, but, and you've mentioned before that awards play a role in, the milestones of a product's development. You get some feedback, you have an opportunity to, create not a single source of truth per se, but an opportunity to pull it all together for that application. For you and, overseeing the number of companies that you have and, products that have come through your pipeline, where did awards and where do awards play a role for you?
that's the heart of it, right? I mean, so I've also been a juror for, I think, the IDEA, the Edison, the MDEA, CES, Biomedical Engineering Awards. So I'm a big supporter of the awards, and I also submitted a fair amount of awards, won some, lost some, and understand sort of the appreciation of that. And the challenge, as I look at it as two different hats. But if I'm submitting an award, I look at it as for a chance to basically celebrate the accomplishment that the team put together. So you basically spend all this time developing a product. It's a innovative leapfrog, and now we can take time to step back, put together an application to celebrate that innovation and put it forward to the community, and hopefully that it'll actually gauge to whether or not you were right in that it was that innovative. Sometimes it's innovative and you don't win, and it's okay, right? But the idea is to, the way I look at it, and maybe it's very metaphorical, but it's putting the icing on the cake for the new product introductions. There are a lot of companies that come out and they submit a product, and it's out there, and you obviously want customer satisfaction, you want the value of the end users, and you want profitability, and you want the sales to go up. But adding that sort of extra badge, let's call it the tag award, gives you that extra confidence to know that you've taken the time to get a secondary view on it. You've got additional marketing for, opportunities for it. And so I think it's an amazing way to gain recognition and credibility in a very easy, cost-effective manner. You could spend a lot of money in marketing trying to get the same things you can get through an award.
Yeah.
On the other hand, as a juror, it's I think it's finding that those companies that have innovation, whether it's a startup or a Fortune 100, to just kind of make sure that you give them that opportunity to celebrate with them, and to basically give them that sort of secondary viewpoint that they hit the mark correctly.
Yeah, give them that feedback that you are craving on the other side, so you kind of know what they're looking for, so they can use that, or hear what you're saying and trust your expertise because you've been in the space for so long, and give that critique, or that attaboy, the pat in the back that says, "Hey, hey team, job well done."
Well, I mean, and that's why I was really excited when you called me about this, because I really didn't know about the TAG Awards, until this, and it's obviously new, but there is a missing hole in this, because there are only a few awards out there that are really meaningful for the medtech space. A few of them have dropped out over the years, and so that this is really a perfect opportunity to bring this back, and for the companies that are looking to apply, it's really demonstrating that you're committed to the innovation. It doesn't take much. Well, it does take a lot of work to submit a good entry. We can go into that later about how much work it takes to create an entry, and how to make it more meaningful for the judge.
Yeah.
But it does also demonstrate to the teams of those companies how the leadership views um, innovation.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that for just a minute, because when you're looking at, companies that are inevitably going to be in the same category and maybe, they're solving a problem, albeit maybe in a different way, what are some differentiators that you're going to look for relative to, saying, one should be a gold or first place or, maybe not place?
Yeah, each award has its different criteria, and each award has their sort of, you know, cadences of what they're looking for in the applicants or the nominees. I think the standout winners are going to demonstrate, significant advancement um, in how it handles design innovation, user experience, benefit to the client, benefit to society. All those things will be of high interest. Um, and also how it impacts, the competition. What's the overall value and impact that this product is going to deliver to either a clinician or to the and or a patient. I think those are key things. And depending on which category you are, it's going to be either, a mild innovation or leapfrog innovation. It really depends on where you are. So I think in each, depending on which class you're in, it's going to look a little different.
Yeah, talking about the leapfrog that you mentioned and previously you talked a little bit about the importance of, AI and how that's, built into devices or tools or diagnostics or what have you coming out. Talk a little bit about some of the trends that you're seeing today that maybe you're most excited about or innovations that you're seeing that are hitting the market or just about to hit the market that you can talk about.
Oh gosh. I mean, I'm a big fan of life sciences and the what's going to happen in the diagnostics industry once AI and even, how it's going to be able to kind of um, foresee or not prevent, but foresee or potentially mitigate uh, cancers and other types of illnesses. So I think that there's a huge challenge in that industry then there's so much competition, right? I mean, depending on what specific industry you're looking at, cardiovascular or um, orthopedics or any of these types of specialties. I think that the key is really going to be, at least I should say, the most exciting thing I'm hoping to see is that, you know, there will be one day, and it probably will be coming soon, a box where you can basically stick your hand in and it'll just analyze you for that day and tell you where your molecular health is. And predictive medicine, I think, is going to be the holy grail for where everything's going.
Yeah.
But then again, there are all sorts of different sectors out there, from surgical to pharmaceutical, that they're all going to take advantage to this. So I think that's where you have to have your special passions in play of what you're looking for.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's an
Where,
opportunity, huge
where
opportunities.
wearables is an easy one. Everybody's going to say, well,
Right.
this is going to be a Star Trek decoder kind of thing, but that'll come too. But it's really going to be um, how a user can actually implement it to make their life more meaningful and easy. And as the other thing I keep thinking about as I get older is, what happens when we've all sat around and watched our parents or grandparents, fumble with their medication and their date finding of what medications are going on board. So I think as the population gets older, there's a huge opportunity for management of healthcare that's going to
Mhm.
be, supplied by AI and other mechanisms that hopefully will make that more easy for people to age gracefully.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm like you, in the thick of it with my parents too. It's tough. It's interesting though to get to go to work every day and feel like well, I for one get to tell the stories of folks that are working on projects and problems that most people have never heard of, and that's always rewarding when you get to have that success and see that product come out and it actually do what it was intended to do, and then it improved the lives of so many, and so I feel like that's something that going back to your point earlier, is such an opportunity to galvanize the team, using an award to sit back because so often it's like, all right, we did this thing, box checked. What's next? What's the next thing? From a leadership perspective, how do you help your team, manage expectations or use this as an opportunity to say, hey, job well done.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key qualities that everybody realizes a successful leader has to have is that they need to have this sort of fine line between leading and delegating. And this award, the ability for these awards, I think, is to champion the team, to basically put them in charge, to say, you put this together, we're going to basically allow you to have this moment. Leaders, they're going to challenge the status quo. They're going to help educate and mentor the team, but they need to have that ability to create a culture that fosters that innovation process, the humility and the cause. So, again, getting back to, the awards is that it helps bring back that meaning that the company values this effort of the
Sure.
individuals team.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think that part is so much fun too. You get to celebrate. I know we're not doing an event per se for the tag awards to begin with, but hopefully it gets to that level and it's something that we can do. And we hear back from teams that took time out of their day to celebrate once they've heard the good news. So that should be a lot of fun. When you think of some of these innovations that are coming out and entrepreneurs that are spearheading them. What do you look for in terms of leaders when you get involved in a project or a product? Is that something that is, really important when you think about investing or jumping on a board or participating in a project?
Absolutely. I mean, it goes beyond just leaders. I mean, I think it's the corporate culture, and I could talk for hours on culture and the meaningfulness of it. But the leaders actually obviously have to walk the talk. They actually have to have the expertise. They need to lead by example, standard bylines that they all hold true. I think advocating um, their team to submit to these awards, I think is meaningful. I think in the past, when I've worked for other companies, and you have designers or engineers that are saying, well, hey, can we submit this? It's always, well, how much does it cost, or how much time is it going to take? And I think that you know, in the right culture, you would want, and some of the clients that I've worked in the past, you can tell when the CEO jumps on the idea and says, this is fantastic, or, starts to second guess it. There's a connection there that has to be, there's an opportunity there that can be made by that leadership team to again support the group. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if that
absolutely.
answered your
Uh,
question.
what's that?
I don't know if that answered your question,
No,
but
no, it's great. I mean, we're always looking at, leaders and the folks that are behind the innovations as well. It's such an important element generally when you see something at the forefront of the technology or in front of the industry, or to your point earlier, leapfrogging, what's currently available in the market. It's generally, somebody that's leading the charge on that has foresight and excitement and a fantastic team around them that is, pushing that. And if they're coming to that, CEO or director or whomever and saying, hey, we want to put this forward, that usually means they're proud of the work that they've done. It wasn't just hey, go do all these check boxes for this client. And then, oh, we just happen to create something novel. No overnight success happens overnight. It comes after years and years of hard work and iteration.
well, that's why I've always been a fan of the startups. But I would say not just startups, but the startup that's basically emerging into a corporation, right? There's that sort of birth of a startup to a ongoing concern. And when they have multiple products out there, or their first one, but they have a platform where they can start looking at what they're doing. It really is inspirational, I think, if you can have that connection to an outside voice to say, we confirm that this is a of value, right? And again, going back a little bit, these days you need a whole group of people to create a product, and it's a combination of skill sets. So it's not just one person that says, hey, I won this award. It's the team and it's the company. So I think that's the real important part, is that, of any award that these days that you're coming into the park, but it's a reflection of the company, not an individual.
Yeah. Well, here, last question for you as we wrap up and start to look forward to, here we are, the first week of January 2025, talking about a new project. But, what are you most looking forward to this year to start 2025?
Oh, geez. It's a loaded question. It's ski season. So
there you go.
Pretty far away from that. But yeah, no, I want to get a couple good turns in. But yeah, I really want to, for myself, I'm looking to advance some of the projects that I've been working on, as well as, giving back a little bit at this point in my life. So I'm looking to, these awards are a perfect example of things I get excited about. And I can't wait to kind of see the next batch of new innovation coming through. And I missed that. I think I mentioned it before. There are certain awards that are just design focused. There are certain design focus, that are industry focused, if you will. The MedTech is a really sweet spot to bring that back. And the only thing I would also add as being a juror is that, as you're submitting these projects, that the thing to be really clear about is basically tell a compelling story. When you're entered the entries, make them clear, defined. Pictures are 1,000 words. Make it. They're going to be hopefully thousands of entries, right? So for a judge to kind of process them, they need to understand what sector they're in, what their value proposition is, what they've done, and again, just that compelling story.
Absolutely. Well, Tor, this has been awesome. It's been great to jump back in and hear your perspective, and I know you and I do this on a quarterly basis anyway, just about, but now to record it, have everybody else hear it, it's even better.
No, I really appreciate it, and yeah, good luck to all the entries.
All right. On behalf of my guest today, Tor Alden, seasoned entrepreneur and MedTech consultant, you've been listening to Tagged Beyond the Award.
On behalf of our guest today and host Justin Starbird, thank you for listening to Tagged Beyond the Award. We hope you've been inspired by the stories of innovation and leadership shared today. Don't forget to subscribe and join us for more incredible journeys behind the breakthroughs. If you or someone you know is leading the way in innovation, visit tagawards.co to learn more about how to get involved. Until next time, stay driven, keep innovating, and keep reaching for excellence.